numbers. So that's why we wanted to do this, to show that community leaders were part of the bring out the vote, but also as a community, we vote as a block.
Hi folks, welcome to exclusive Barbershop in Coram. We're here with Terry Gershon, who's running for United States Congress, Democrat Party. We're here to talk to Terry today and welcome him to Coram. We ask you to go out and support Terry, the upcoming elections, June 23rd. We ask you to come out and vote by mail, vote in person. So today, folks, I want to introduce you to Terry Gershon.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk to people, and hopefully we can talk about some issues that matter to people.
Yes. So, Terry, let's just jump right into this. Let me know your feelings on racial injustice.
Racial injustice in America has been a cause of mine for a long time, and we're seeing right now that people are rising up to say something about it.
Yes.
Whether it's coronavirus that started it, or the awful thing that happened to George Floyd, just a brutal murder in broad daylight in front of people.
Yes.
It's time we act, and I've been attending demonstrations. I've been to 9 demonstrations in the last 2 weeks throughout this district, and seeing people turn out and say it's time for change. And I really believe in my heart of hearts that this is it. We need to win the election in November and get our point across.
Yes.
But if we win in November, this time it's for real. We need racial justice, fairness and equality in policing, in education, and just across the board.
That's great. That's great. Okay, like your feeling on that.
Thank you.
Well, Perry, also in our community, healthcare is a big issue in our communities across Long Island. And what's your stance on universal healthcare?
We need universal health care on Long Island and in America. I campaigned on it last time, and I'm campaigning on it again this time. Every American has a right to health care. It should not be a privilege. And we've got to make sure that it's affordable to all, including testing for coronavirus, including keeping our communities equally safe. You can't have one American have more rights than the next simply because he's got greater access to health care. We need to reduce the cost of prescription drugs so that people can afford their medicines and not only take a fraction of what they're supposed to get. That's what fair America is all about, and I'm dedicated to delivering it.
All right, thank you.
A retired veteran, I'm curious as to where you stand on taking the actions required to change that position. I mean, the ones we have to get the president out of office, but there are micro steps that need to take place. How do you plan on actuating those micro steps?
We need to make sure that we have turnout to vote. The mail-in voting that we have right now is a step in the right direction. But we need not just what we're doing in New York, but fixing it nationwide. What we saw in Georgia last week with people waiting on long lines, unable to vote, it's just terrible. That's not what America is all about. We need to make sure that everybody not only has the right to vote, but is able to vote. And that means getting ballots to them, it means not purging people from the voter rolls, and it means making sure that the polls stay open so that they're accessible. It means early voting, it means absentee mail-in voting. It's all of that, but the key is to make sure everyone is able to vote.
How do you stifle the gerrymandering?
You have to win first to stifle it. You can't stifle it until you're in office.
Yes,
We
yes.
need to get our numbers up so that we can pass laws that say no more gerrymandering. And the one thing we can do to help is make sure you're counted in the census. This isn't voting, but you must be counted in the census or you lose that right to vote because they take the value of your vote away. So we've got to all stand up. This is not the time to be passive. This is the time to come out. And you're seeing people like me, people who have more privilege come out and stand up. We need everybody across the board to take the cue and take action. And that's how we build an equal and fairer society. And I tell it to my kids, younger generation, they especially have got to come out and vote. Because without the participation of the young ones, we're never gonna get there.
Yes, yes.
As a young person, why should voters choose you as a Democratic candidate?
I am out there with young people. I have 2 children of my own, and I believe really strongly that the future of America comes with the next generation. I've made my money, I've had my career, but it's time for me to try to turn it over to the next people and get them prepared. That means making sure that we have quality, fair education across the board. In Long Island, the education is too uneven. Depending on where you live, you can get a better schooling or a lesser schooling. We've got to level that playing field and get money into all of the communities for education. We need to make sure that people can go to college if they want to go to college and not come out shackled with debt that they'll never be able to pay back. We need to protect people who get student loans so their lenders don't prey on them. And our veterans, we need to make sure that the veterans who get student loans don't get taken advantage of by the lenders. The Trump people are doing way too much of that. And we've got to go back. We've got to fight back and fight for ourselves so that we can be protected.
Oh, Perry, also, going to Washington, there's going to be a lot of changes that needs to be done. Looking into your future on your agenda, what's 1 or 2 of the first things that you would try to start getting accomplished?
I want to see money coming into the district to get people working. I want to see us do infrastructure work so that we can build sewers and protect the environment, work on clean energy, but all of that is to put people to work at jobs that pay $30 an hour, $40 an hour, and not the $15 an hour or less jobs that we've lost. Getting people working is the most important part. And doing it away, we've lost what we had before. Let's rebuild it, but let's rebuild it better. And my whole thing is let's make the future of America better than the America that we lost because of COVID. And let's make sure this, what happened with this health crisis never happens again. Let's be prepared and let's be active.
Okay, thank you.
In helping students who deal with the financial issues, how do we change the hearts and minds, or what would be your plan to help change the hearts and minds of so-called oppressors? The issue we have is we can send a child to school, he can get his education, he can meet all of those marks that someone says, okay, you have to get this job. He walks in to get the job, they look at the resume, and then the jaw drops. Wait a minute, that doesn't look like who you're supposed to be. How do you affect that? I mean, we can talk about all of the reforms and everything else, but we're really talking about an issue affecting hearts and minds, so that when I sit in front of you, you see me as a whole person. That's what you see. You don't see, well, I take black and white, and black is bad and white is good, and because some of that stuff is still reminiscent in a lot of folks. How do you see that, and where do you see your role in affecting that particular change?
I wish I could tell you there's a secret sauce to it or a magic formula. But if I did, you shouldn't vote for me, because I'd be lying.
Yes.
And the reality is, change like that comes over time. We've made real progress. It's hard to believe it, but we really have made progress. Things like Brown versus Board of Ed were landmark decisions that opened up opportunity. And now we just need to keep putting new generations of people in who have a more open mindset. And I'm telling you, at these protests I'm going to, the young people really do mean it in their heart that they want to see change. And letting these people grow up will help. The generations that marched in the 60s created a better life than we had before. For the people who were oppressed before. It's not perfect, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
But it's slow and steady process. And I believe in change, and you just have to elect leaders who are committed to it. That's the heart of it, getting good people in office, good people who care. And don't listen to them, listen to them a little, but look at what they have in their heart.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what really
That's what
sets
counts.
people apart.
I have one other question. Black Lives Matter. How do you feel that you can support their agenda going forward? Because once the protests are over, action leads to coming next.
Well, I've thought about that question a lot, and first off, I don't think we should let the protests end. I think you have to keep it going. They won't be as frequent, but you've got to keep it going and reminding people that we need change. Because if you don't do that, you won't get it. We've already had change. Last week, the governor signed a repeal of Rule 58, and that's transparency in our police force. That's progress that happened only because of the protests that were going on. If you asked a month ago if 58 would be repealed, everybody would look at you and say, you're crazy. Couldn't happen. So look at the action, the actual changes that come from these protests, and that should give you confidence that we can make things better going forward. Keep it up. It's the best answer I can give.
All right, thank you folks for coming out. And we remind you, June 23rd, primary election date for our candidate, Perry Gershon is running for Congress. I support Perry, and we ask you to go out and get your vote in. Early elections already started, but you can also vote by mail and you can vote in person. So we encourage you to go out and vote Democrat candidate Perry Gershon. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Perry.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.